So I'm going to turn that over to Steve Dunn, who is the Professor of Sustainability Management at University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. And he's going to be the moderator for our panel today, who will talk about some of the industries that your capabilities, skill sets, manufacturing prowess might fit into. So, Steve.
Well, thanks, Connie. Yeah, really grateful to have this opportunity to have you guys in the room today. As she mentioned, Professor of Sustainability, but that's just by way of supply chain. Many years back, worked with Heinz and Labatt in supply chain and manufacturing plant. And at UW Oshkosh, we have the leading supply chain degree program in Wisconsin, we feel. And we're working hard to work with you to provide students as your one of the key components of your supply chain. Insight asked me yesterday what I thought one of the most critical factors was in the supply chain that was at risk. And I said, actually, it is your people. There's no end to the time when I talk with people in the field. Everybody always tells me, the workforce looks like you. And I said, what? They're good looking? And they just, and they say, no, I'm getting old. And I said, oh, okay, thanks. But that's a stark reality for everyone. And like I was telling the students, I said, if you saw the number, it came out of ARP or something, yeah, I read that now. They said 10,000 a day in the U.S. people are retiring, and we're not putting 10,000 a day back in the workforce. And so that's a real factor. And I always remind people, keep that in mind as you're talking about your supply chain, that your universities, tech schools, and through your colleges in Wisconsin are critical in that chain, and keeping them healthy is a key factor. And I think going forward, at least from our perspective, we know now that in this new budget era and our new budget models that we're going to have to be much more aggressive in dealing with you and be more responsive. And so I'm telling you, from our end, you'll see a lot of change. I mean, we're evolving quickly, and expect to be hearing from us. This panel today is very important because we've got representatives from a number of industry areas in particular, but just to put it in perspective, I was speaking out at the APEX and the Council Supply Chain Management meetings the last couple of weeks, and I picked up a number in one of the speakers that I visited, talked about glitches in the supply chain. Here's how important it is. There's an average drop in supply chain of 10% shareholder value, including on average a 107% drop in operating income, 10.7% growth in cost, and 14% growth in inventories related to mistakes and glitches in the supply chain stemming from any number of factors. Because of that, I think that highlights the importance of having a critical partner in the supply chain. And that's what I think you're all here today, and that's what a lot of companies are interested in, is how do I find those critical partners? I think on the other hand, I look at the history of what we've been doing with supply chains. I know certainly in the teaching area, what we've been teaching for easily 10, 20 years now has been globalization, getting them extended, outsourcing everything. There's a lot of work right now on bringing a lot of it closer. Probably the most visible to all of us, like I talk with students a lot, is probably the one you see in front of your face is the food industry. Look at the growth in farmers markets, the interest in where things are grown, what's in it, and things like that. It's going to pervade across all of them because of technology and availability to get information on your products and suppliers. But at the same time, as firms are looking at those supply chains, the reality is trying to keep track of that is staggering. So that's why the importance of key partners. So that's what I think today's about. So I hope you'll join me with that. And with that, I'd like to ask each of the panelists to briefly speak about their background and the industry group that they're representing. So Alan?
Sure. Folks hear me? Okay, good. So my name is Alan Pearlstein. I'm the Executive Director of the Midwest Energy Research Consortium. It's a public-private partnership focused on the energy, power, and control space. Here in Wisconsin, there's a quiet secret. There are 900 companies, 100,000 employees, and $38 billion worth of revenue generated in the state by companies that are in the energy, power, control space. In 2012, the WEDC, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, published a 5-year study that forecasts the fastest growing market space in the state were companies in the energy power control space. If you spin out to the 8 contiguous states to Wisconsin, you will see there's more than 500,000 jobs in the energy power control space. We truly are the center of excellence across the region, as well as the nation, in those industries. I actually came from the shipbuilding industry. I moved here in 2000, and I was actually blown away by the depth of the technical capability here, both academic, industry, as well as the NGOs and government organizations focused on economic development. But what we didn't have was a vision where the market needs would really direct and drive what research we did, would direct and drive the talent pipeline that was being developed, the curriculums that we developed. And I helped create and found with Mike Lovell, who is now the president of Marquette, what was then an earlier organization evolved into the Midwest Energy Research Consortium. We started out with 8 members. Today we have 86. We started out with a budget of probably $100,000, and today it's a little over $2 million. Over the last 3.5 years, we've looked at where the market is going. We do roadmaps to define key market growth on technology-focused areas, in areas that are in our strategic plan, on distributed generation, on DERS, on energy efficiency, on the water energy nexus, on biofuels and renewables, and energy efficiency. And we look at those roadmaps, see where the market is today and where it's going to be in 5 years, and then actually do a gap analysis and then invest each year in technology projects of $500,000 to $600,000 a year to close those gaps, drive new technologies, and spur job development throughout the 8-state region. We are one of 3 clusters you'll see among my side today, where we have the Water Council and the Aerospace Cluster. We are currently doing a joint roadmap with the Water Council on the Energy Water Nexus, looking forward, seeing how the marketplace is going electric, seeing how we understand that we use way too much energy to produce water and manage water. We use way too much water to go ahead and make energy. That is our next roadmap, and one of the key drivers that we think will make jobs in the region. Thanks.
Thanks, Alan. Meredith?
Okay. I'm Meredith Jager. I'm with the Wisconsin Aerospace Partners, and we are just now in the formulation of our structure and organization. So we're a few years behind Alan and his M-WERC team, but really our focus is to bring together our supply chain throughout the state of Wisconsin, those folks who are currently supplying the aviation and the aerospace industry, and put resources behind them so that they can continue to grow their footprint in the industry, expand in their markets, and with new products to the industry as well. So, you probably aren't thinking, oh, Wisconsin Aerospace. Yes, we're known for aerospace, but we do have over 140 Boeing suppliers in the state of Wisconsin. We have over 200 suppliers, mostly manufacturers, parts and components, who currently supply the aerospace industry. I'm sure that there are some of you in the room right now that I am not even aware of, because this is a completely grassroots effort of trying to identify our assets throughout the state. So I'd love to hear from any of you out there who are currently supplying the industry as well. But really, over the last couple of years, we have spent some time talking with those suppliers, talking with some of the Tier 1 suppliers and OEMs from outside of our state, and understanding what we can do as a collective voice and organization to help support the aerospace industry throughout the state. And with that, we have 5 key areas that we're focusing on. The first one is branding and awareness. Like I said, we have lots of suppliers in the aerospace industry, but no one knows that. So we need to tell our story. We need to tell the story of our strength in our supply chain, both in our state and across the globe as well. Business development. So how do we expose our suppliers to potential customers? Whether that's going to trade shows. We're heading to a foreign direct investment event next week. Or just doing supplier symposium, bringing folks like Sikorsky in to travel across the state of Wisconsin to meet with some of our suppliers and know what our capabilities really are. advocacy, both on the manufacturing side as well as our airport managers and FAA regulations and how that impacts our industry. So working with the Wisconsin Airport Managers Association as well as our supply chain manufacturing folks in the industry to make sure that government is helping us along. Workforce and education, I think both Steve and Alan mentioned this as well, but working with our Wisconsin Space Grant Consortium of 22 universities throughout the state in what they're doing in terms of education in the aerospace industry and helping to prepare our workforce so that we continue to be a strong supply chain to supply the industry. And finally, the entrepreneurship and innovation side of things. So my background, about 7, 8, maybe even 9 years ago, I founded Aero Innovate at UW Oshkosh, which really is an organization to help bring together entrepreneurs, startup companies, investors, and OEMs throughout the industry to help commercialize new technologies. And so that's really where I got my starts in the aerospace industry. And so continuing to partner with folks like Aero Innovate and other R&D entities throughout the world to help bring those technologies to the state of Wisconsin and commercialize those ideas. I think I'm going to leave it at that.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about more later.
Great. Thank you. Karen?
I'm Karen Frost with the Water Council. The Water Council is a private nonprofit based in Milwaukee, serving the state's water cluster. The state of Wisconsin has a very robust and organically occurring density of water technology companies. There's 200 across the state and about 160 that are in southeastern Wisconsin area. Our organization actually came about in 2009 and was led by industry leaders in water technology, and they found a need for an organization to kind of coalesce all of the resources that were identified around water, and those of course include our corporate, our strong corporate water technology companies. We have, Milwaukee is blessed to have the only School of Freshwater Sciences across the nation, and it's a half a mile from our building in Milwaukee. So we have very strong academic partners. There is a university and industry cooperative research center all around water technology that's based in Milwaukee as well. As an organization, we actually host an annual competition for 6 seats in a residency accelerator. So we encourage applicants around the world to apply to this residency accelerator program to further, to bring the innovators for water technology issues to Milwaukee and actually put them through a training program. That's been very successful. We're in our 3rd year of that entrepreneur program. And we've actually identified corporate partners who now want to participate in a corporate accelerator program where the corporation themselves gets to name the challenges, and then they actually incubate those entrepreneurs that they select to participate and go through training within their own office space. We also have my program, which is the Small Business Channel, and what I do is funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration, and I link small businesses in water technology to resources, whether that be technical resources like capacity building or export training, or maybe it's connection to funding opportunities, but I help be that matchmaker for resources for those companies. And then further, I guess my tie to supply chain is that I do business matchmaking. So we have international companies that know that our state and our region is well known for a strong manufacturing base as well as this density of water technology companies. And so they'll come to me and ask for matchmaking opportunities for me to introduce them to prospective suppliers within that water technology and in the supply chain. And then I guess the last thing is we actually house the North American headquarters for the Alliance for Water Stewardship under the umbrella of the Water Council. And so we are running that program to just offer that to corporations across North America, kind of like LEED certification is for building efficiency. The Alliance for Water Stewardship teaches the practices for water sustainability.
Great, thank you. Scott?
Scott from Racine Metal Fab. We do work with all three industries that are here. We try to partner with people that have innovative products, new products, they're growing, and they need help keeping their products in the market as long as possible. So I'm the lone manufacturer here. RMF is a sheet metal fabricator. There's a lot of sheet metal fabricators I see out here. It's always hard to try and make it sound better than what it is, but we cut and bend, weld, paint metal for people that need it. So I'll try to keep that short. My background is in manufacturing, operations. I was APIC certified planner. Got into sales and marketing because it seemed easier than supply chain, but now sometimes I wish I could go into supply chain. At least you know what's coming. And that's it.
Well, super. What we'd like to do now, I'm going to ask them a couple of questions to get it started, but I really don't like this where you guys just sit out here, and I'm a professor, so I tend to walk around. I want you to start thinking about what kind of questions you have for them as a potential supplier, or how would I get involved with them, or why might I want to get involved with them. And with that, I'd kind of like to throw it to the panel. What do you see as some of the most critical things coming down the pipeline in your field in the next couple of years where you might be looking towards new suppliers, for example, or other people that might want to get involved? You all mentioned, a lot of growth and things going on and bringing people in, but is there anything in particular? You guys can go in any order, I guess.
I'll start. So if you're thinking about aircraft and spacecraft, you want them to be lighter, and you want them to be stronger and more efficient and easier to maneuver, right? So if you think about all of those different things that we're trying to accomplish in the air and space industry, look at our OEMs and what their problems are that they're trying to solve. And I'll name just a few just from some of our connections with the folks at Boeing and Sikorsky, and even folks here in the state that are working on some solutions to these. But certainly low weight and wireless sensing, so that we can get rid of all those wires, right? So wireless sensing. Quality additive manufacturing, so other materials to help make them stronger and more lightweight. So think about where you might fit into that area. High energy density, power, energy, all of the systems that Alan's folks are working on, we are also very interested in those new technologies in that area as well. One of the things that is very important that folks, including the users, the pilots, are looking for is this paperless flight deck. So instead of folks carrying their big old briefcase, with all of their flight plans and all the information that they need, it's all wireless in the flight deck. However, that also creates maybe some additional issues of cybersecurity, because now we're all electronic and we're sending information over these channels, and so the cybersecurity issues are now coming to impact the industry as well. I mentioned advanced materials, and then sustainable fuels. Those are really kind of those big hot topics, those problems that the industry is trying to solve at this point moving forward. So.
Sure. So I'll bracket this into two discussion points. So there is the buzz of smart grid, smart manufacturing. So as America learns to compete, we view our ability to go use automation, use controls, use sensing equipment to reduce labor costs, improve yield, and create a smart manufacturing environment. That has increased our ability to compete. So anybody who provides technologies that are in automation and controls, that can go take and connect disparate machine tools, that can go link the factory floor with the upstream and downstream supply chain network, be it from the early stages of the value chain all the way through logistics, will go ahead and have opportunities for growth. Smart grid, connecting our factories, our homes, our commercial businesses to the grid itself. So we're enabled to go ahead and do demand peak shaving, to go ahead and position ourselves so that we understand what is being used and what can be turned on and off as needed to deal with inconsistency in power is important. A couple of macroeconomic changes that are big drivers. So with the large amount of natural gas provided by fracking, a huge industry growth in combined heat and power, creating opportunities for distributed generation versus central generation. Those of you who support the oil and gas industry, although it's crashed with the price of gas and oil going down, long term that will be a growth engine where distributed generation will increasingly play an important role here, as well as an export module. If you think about the telephone industry and you think of Africa, they skipped landlines. They went straight to cell phone technology. You look in Central Asia, you look in India's center, you look at Africa, there's a huge need for power, a huge need for sanitation. All of those export targets will be around distributed generation for power, distributed water management systems, looking yourselves as either product providers or system providers that can go support those growing macro trends will position you well.
I can testify directly to that, having just come back from Las Vegas. If you've been out there lately, what's going on with power in Las Vegas? Everything's going solar. It's amazing. Some of the largest solar fields in the world are right outside of town. And at the same time, I was showing some pictures earlier, Lake Mead is at record levels below water because of the drawdowns. So these are real, very real issues. I know it's hard. It's like even talking to students here to try and get questions, about water or issues like that, pollution. It's hard to see here, but very real, even in our own country. Jerry?
Are you open to questions?
I'll take questions anytime.
Sure. I have two. I have two questions. I'll start with one.
That was good.
And maybe from each of the panelists could address this. But what's the cost of market entry? If I'm a new entry to the marketplace that you represent, things like quality standards, unique certifications, or other criteria that I have to play in that market space?
I guess I'll start with, and I'm not exactly sure how to answer the question, only because water technology, by very definition, takes such a huge variety of forms, because it could be anything from any technology that addresses, from our point, water quality or quantity. So that could be filtration, it could be valves, it could be meters, it could be sensors. It takes such a swiping, it's a very broad scope. What I would say is, as suppliers or as potential companies have come to me and said, wanted to be introduced to suppliers in the supply chain, make it easy for me to find you. I mean, I went to websites to look for what capabilities are, what industries are served, and sometimes that's difficult to find. So for me, doing matchmaking for companies to make what you do accessible to me so that I can then make the introduction is really important to me.
I can try this one. I'll try to answer without actually saying anything. So it pins me down. So there's definitely going to be a cost in time and money. So it depends where you're at and where your company's at. If you're ISO certified, if you've got certain certifications already, they're just kind of the basic entry to manufacturing or supplying to manufacturing. But there's definitely going to be, for each one of these, there's going to be other certifications you're going to have to get. You'll find those out as you go. Another big cost is how do you market and how do you sell to these companies? Because you don't just walk up and go, hi, I want to sell to the water companies, and they say, great, fantastic, you're here. You have to come up with a new plan. You have to find out what you're good at. One of the things I wrote down is really understanding what is your business, what are you good at, and then understand that you don't know. So you've got to go ask your current customers, what am I good at? Because they'll tell you. You can think, well, I asked our engineering manager, what are we good at? Oh, we're good at this, and we're good at this. And I said, who did you ask? Nobody. Well, we went to talk to our customers. Some of the things we thought we were good at, they agreed with. some of the things we thought we were good at, they didn't care about. And some of the things we didn't care about, they thought were the most important things. So you really need to go do surveys with your customers, find out what you're really good at, and then find the companies that are in these three groups to see who's really interested. So, you know, dollar-wise, it could be anywhere between 50 grand to 250 grand.
It's that personal side, and it's also the technology. It's both. Yes,
yeah, it's maybe to Karen's first comment and to Scott's suggestion, but maybe some mechanical or just practical thoughts or suggestions about how to get noticed in the market.
Yeah. Want me to take that? Or did you direct that at Karen or someone else? I didn't hear.
They both made comments that that second question.
Nobody's wearing a pink tie, so you're not noticed.
No, but I guess I can speak, you know, certainly from my industry, and if you don't mind, I'm going to go back and answer your first question and your second question at the same time. Number one, in terms of getting into the market and certifications, with aerospace, there is an AS9300 certification for suppliers. Sometimes you will need that and sometimes you won't. Sometimes who you are supplying your specific part or component to will certify it for you. So it's really important to have that relationship and trust with the other folks who you are supplying to. With regard to that, there is a cost to that. It's kind of like the next step to ISO, so it's a little bit more advanced than that, but if you already have your ISO certification, I know that we have a lot of resources throughout the state that can help you with that. Certainly WMEP and their technical assistance, but also some funding and some scholarships through WEDC and other entities that can help you pay for getting that certification as well. So those are a couple of things. And in terms of making yourself, you know, we need to know that you're out there. We need to know, and this is kind of answering both question 1 and 2, but, you know, let us know that you are in the industry, you want to supply the industry to a greater extent, that you're interested in entering the industry, because as we are out there representing our entire cluster of aerospace suppliers, for example, there's a group of us along with folks from the state as well as industry who are going to California next week to talk to some foreign direct investors, and there will be OEMs and there will be folks like Boeing and Northrop Grumman and those folks who are there. And as we talk to them about their needs, if we know who you are and what your capabilities are, we can help be that matchmaker like Karen said. So you need to let us know what your capabilities are so that we can help you make those connections to get into the industry as well.
So an absolute takeaway then is each of you are a point of contact in those groups and that they should contact after they leave today.
Yeah, you've got to join the groups of the people you're trying to get to. So if you're looking for tomatoes, you don't go to the hardware store. You go to the grocery store, right? So if you want to get in with the water council and water companies, you join the water council and you go visit them. You see what they're doing. That's how you really have to do it. I'd say save your money on some of the advertising stuff. If you're there and you make promises and you keep promises as you move forward with people, that's what's going to get you noticed and people will talk about it. Because those groups they're not that big. They're big enough that and there's decision makers in those groups that would really help, you know, kind of give you that, give you a reference if needed and push you forward.
Any other questions?
Oh. Sorry.
Yeah, my name's Jordan. I'm with the Precision Screw Thread, and I run our aerospace division, Helical Kinetics. This is probably more reference to you, Meredith. We're a third-tier supplier. So, for instance, we'll make a ball screw, a lead screw, that will then go to Amatech or Electromech up in Wichita. They'll integrate that into a trim actuator, flap actuator, a flight-critical piece of equipment. Then they will sell that to Spirit, Cessna, Beechcraft, Boeing, so on and so forth. How can a company of our size, we're around 47 people, we're in the Milwaukee area, how can we leverage the Wisconsin Aerospace Partners to find new business?
First of all, let me know. So we'll have a conversation after this. But also, you know, we just need to know what your capabilities are. honestly, let us know those kinds of parts and components and those solutions that you have. And as we are working with those tier 1, tier 2, OEM, when we're working with those folks and we can identify, hey, we have a really big strength in, this area, we will be able to help connect you to that. The other thing is, as we collectively go to commercial trade shows and we are telling our story, we want you to come along. There are, again, scholarships and funds and grants that can help you pay your way to join us on those ventures. But, there are opportunities out there. So, get involved, get engaged, go talk to those potential customers, those potential suppliers, and really start networking along with us as well.
Every major system provider looks at Wisconsin as a depth of capability that has high quality products. You can count on the manufacturing processes, and really looks at developing a new supply chain through the Midwest. I came from shipbuilding, and we must have developed 5, 6 new sources of power distribution equipment. Those power distribution equipment providers provided switchgear. You drill down, new cold plate providers, new sheet metal providers. Each one of the different levels was grown and developed here in the Midwest. There's a huge movement in aerospace as well as in the energy power control to have commercial off the shelf, but commercial off the shelf with quality and configuration management control that you can count on the product's configuration being there for the life cycle of the production process. So if you're able to offer high quality production capabilities, configuration management, spare parts management, you'll be able to go ahead and be qualified for new programs. And if you come visit M-WERC, I can help hook you up with our larger OEMs who are both in the military and non-military market spaces.
I could add something there too. I mean, they mentioned a lot of things that you may not be doing at this point. Another source of resource are interns, and the majority of the universities around here have internship programs, and we provide students that can come in and work very diligently on these topics, depending on level of complexity. But we place interns all the time in companies to do things. I've had students go in and literally go through, for example, a company was working in Europe and worried about environmental regulations. They went through every one of their product bills and looked at everything they did in terms of compliance. So I mean, that's another source that if you don't think of, look to your local universities, because they often have a real on-time source of student resources. Other questions?
I have a question for Scott. Scott, hi, Scott.
Tony's my plan.
Yeah, I have a question for you. We do work for you, and you do work for Company X, because you're not the end user. Is it ever an occasion that you would actually take me as a representative of a person who does business with you to Company X? Because Company X may have a requirement for us that does not go through you. But is that ever a possibility for people to, what I would call, piggyback on their current suppliers down to the original OEM?
If it's you specifically, no, you cannot come. No, it definitely works. You've got a different skill set than what we have. You're not making parts that we make. We're not outsourcing the same thing we do to you. You've got something different to offer. And yeah, it would be great for us to bring one of our partners to someone to offer that, because they can get the sheet metal products from us, and they can get the sheet metal products from anybody. It's the partnership, and what else are we bringing to the table? Are we really good at this? Are we bringing other solutions? Are we bringing other suppliers? Or what other ideas are we bringing that nobody else is bringing? Because some other companies might go, we're not bringing somebody to that place. He's gonna talk to the customer, and then he's gonna tell them something that I don't want him to say. Versus bring them in there, let them help, and grow your business, and give them an opportunity to have another supplier. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think we would look at. I'm not sure everybody would like that. You can come. You can come on.
All right.
Okay.
Other questions? Well, with that, I'd like to ask each of the panelists, to summarize here. This is manufacturing first. So what should people take away? What should they do first? What's the most important thing they can go? Scott?
I'll go first. If you're trying to grow your business and change and get into a new industry, you've got to be ready for change. Whatever you've been doing for your current industry may work for the new industry. It may kind of work for the new industry, but it might not work at all. So if you think, oh, we're gonna stop building, stuff for Briggs and Stratton, we're gonna go work for the aerospace industry, it might not be quite that easy. Be prepared for a lot of change. Be prepared for a lot of things not working, a lot of issues. I mean, we pride ourselves on highly aesthetic parts, and then we get a new customer that takes highly aesthetic to a new level, and we're like, whoa, how can this not be good enough? It's good enough for everybody else. So you really got to understand where you're going and what you're doing, and do you have the right skill sets to be able to do it, and just be prepared to trip and to fall and have to get back up, because going into new industries and growing business is not easy. And part of that would be the culture of the company. If the culture of the company is, I've got my 5 customers, this is who we work with, there's not much, it's not that hard to figure it out. Everybody gets it, but when you start bringing in new customers and new industries and new specs and new people, that's going to upset the apple cart a little bit, and people they're not going to always like it. So the culture's got to be ready for growth. Everybody at the company, from the top down, has got to say, we are going to grow business. We need to make sure we're ready for it, and we have to be able to keep going on. If it gets a little hard, you can't give up. So that's probably the biggest thing. And culture is a big part of that. I got like 10 things here, but I'll stop.
It was first.
Again, I can't speak to the entire water technology industry, but I can talk to, from my vantage point in business development, to be able to understand clearly what your specific capabilities are. What we are fortunate to have is such a strong manufacturing base and such a diverse set of excellent skills that are represented in the state of Wisconsin, and that's oftentimes what people see when they consider our area as a potential new marketplace for them, because we do have, if we are looking at, welding capabilities, they may not be able to find that in their home state or their area, and so they know that they can find that here. So again, just being able for us to understand what specific capabilities or certifications you represent, just help make those opportunities easier, to help matchmake.
My thing first and foremost would be to reach out to the resources that are available to you. I have one thing that I would like to say about just the opportunity in aerospace, and a couple of statistics and things for you to think about in terms of the opportunity to enter the industry. As Karen said, people know Wisconsin for manufacturing, and depending on the year, Wisconsin is either number 1 or number 2. We flip-flop with Indiana on number of manufacturing jobs per capita. So think about all of the manufacturing jobs, all of our manufacturers, and the capabilities that we have in this state. Of the countries with an aerospace industry, the United States as a whole is number 2 in aerospace is the second largest exporting industry for the United States. Huge opportunity. In addition to that, recent studies have shown that aerospace is one of the top 10 growing industries throughout the world. So think about that opportunity, and if aerospace or water or energy power controls are one of those areas that you want to tap into, reach out to us.
So I'll wrap it up. If you look around the world today, there is a huge demand for power. There's a huge demand for clean water. This whole process started with a grant to transition Oshkosh supply chain into contiguous market spaces. If you look at the equipment you provided, be it powertrain equipment, harness equipment, controls equipment, those same requirements exist in the growing market space of water management and distributed generation. Those are 2 huge growth engines internationally. We have a strong export office with WEDC is willing to help you. And there are OEMs who are willing to qualify new suppliers to take cost out, to have innovative ways to go bring product to market, both from price, but also taking span time out. If you could do turns quicker, if you can meet their schedules quicker with the same degree of quality, you'll be selected. So I would encourage those of you who were looking at contiguous spaces, know your product mix, know your requirements, do your homework. It won't cost millions of dollars to understand the requirements in contiguous spaces. But if you're going to be on a ship, you need to know Mill Standard 901D. You need to know shock. You need to know electromagnetic interference requirements. Whatever contiguous market space, you can go ahead and get support, understand the requirements, and then go ahead and make the leap. At the August session that we had, there was a discussion, things don't go linearly, they leap. And when you go see a change, you generally have to go leap, make that change, and then go ahead and do it in a disciplined fashion and go execute. So.
And I could echo that. At the university, that's exactly what we've done in the business school. You notice my title? You didn't see that title, and you still don't in too many business schools. I was willing to jump because I said, for the future, and our students in their lifetimes, what are they going to be dealing with? A lot of these other issues globally, they surround the environment, social issues. We need to be teaching them how to deal with that. So again, in that same vein, this ability to change. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to Connie. She's going to talk about an interesting program that the New North has.
Thank you, Steve. And so one of the things that I heard, there were commonalities in regards to what are the capabilities that they're looking for or pieces, parts. But two, number one, and one of the most important elements was how do you get found? And so we're going to try to give you a tool that will help you be found. And I'm going to demonstrate, and I'm going to have to, I guess I will need that mic, because I'm going to need the mouse. So I'm going to come down. Test. All right, this row. So, to find the supply chain marketplace, which is a tool to help you be found by any one of these industries, on the New North website, we have a couple of ways that you can find this. Through business intelligence and the target industries and directories, or through site selectors, target industries and directories, and even more prominent is on a key component of our homepage, so that it's easy for people to find. So targeted industries, we have a number of other elements that we've worked on, like data centers, and done some analyzing on sites for that. Global New North with resources on exporting. And we also can aggregate directories via geographic areas, which would be the Lakeshore one. But the supply chain marketplace really gives you a number of tools to get into the different industries that we've heard about the opportunities for. So scrolling down on the landing page for the marketplace, you'll find a number of those industries listed here: aviation, the energy services, or systems, I'm sorry, food and beverage, and the water industry, the defense industry supply chain, so you can still find defense suppliers if you need those. And we want to keep those suppliers healthy so that when defense contracting's up, those suppliers are still available to them. But don't want too much dependence on that one customer. So give you an example of how this works is you can enter one company profile into the system here, and it can be found in the supply chain directory that you've indicated you have the capabilities to fit within. You'll see on the on the directory landing page for aviation, information on the Aerospace Partners and how to get involved with them, a link to their website, what they do. You'll also see the list of categories of different manufacturing supplies and services that flow into aerospace. Clicking on one of those categories, you get a list of businesses who have entered their company profile about what they do and what their capabilities are, and to give you an idea of what those profiles look like for a company. Here's one from Fond du Lac, Sadoff Iron and Metal Company. They can put, as a company filling out your profile, you can put a graphic representation, your picture of your business, a key equipment piece that you might be selling, etc. Your logo, it'll have a locator map where your facility is located, the different directories or supply chains you feel your company fits within, and the different categories of capabilities that your company has. This happens to be a recycling company, so they do have a lot of materials that they can supply. So you see a lot of capabilities. The company description, the company can enter a video to play. They can also enter job opportunities that might be with that company, the now hiring. That will go, in this case, they linked it directly to their HR page. You can put a short company, job description in that particular area as well. And then you can also load company news and interface that out on a regular basis. The, again, energy systems. And the landing page for that particular directory, again linking into M-WERC and the capabilities that they have. Again, the different categories of companies that you can find for those different capabilities. You can also scroll down to the bottom and you will find a more dynamic search box that you can also search via your capability, where you're located, type of certification your company has, a number of different components of search criteria, and then the locator map will show at the bottom with what companies are within that industry or those capabilities, and then the list as well. So you also have, again, I said the ability to change out anything on a company profile as you see fit. And when you have a new award, etc., your testimonials, you could include all of that information within your company profile. And as a result of the company news, that will also populate as and rotate on the page via the sidebar in this area right here. This site will also features a industry news page that will allow for the posting of requests for proposals, requests for quotes. Those will be sent out to those company profiles that are in the marketplace. When there's been a posting, you will get notified if you have the capabilities that that company is looking for in those RFQs or RFPs. It will also rotate again the company news within that page and the ability to have access to industry econometrics, articles on what's happening and trends in the industry, as well as events that would relate to training opportunities or other continuing educational opportunities within that industry. Any questions? Yes?
very beginning, where is this website located?
This website is currently located through the New North website. You can also reach it through a URL, the New North /supply chain marketplace. The paper that you have in front of you also has the URL link on it to go in and enter your company profile. That'll land you directly to the landing page to enter your profile. This piece will also help you, if you do that now and you're not able to finish your profile, to record your username and password so you don't forget that. We also, through the demonstration station, the Excel stations that we have set up, we're right in front of the stage in the trade show expo area. Drop by, we'll help walk you through that. We're set up to help you enter that and get you set up. So please come by. We'll help also show you how to play around with finding things and really navigate through the tool.
Can I just make a comment, Connie?
Yeah.
But the intent beyond the establishment of the database or company profiles will be to take the collective supply chain with the help of the Water Council, with Meredith's group in aviation, or Alan's group, and actually leverage one another to go to market. So the intent would be to go to market within those unique market spaces as a supply chain. So as a group of companies going to the market together. So just so you know, as this gets built out, as the volume of companies in the directory or in the database, we're creating more and more market value by virtue of the number of companies that are participating. So more is better.
Right. And it also allows us to attract companies within that industry to our area when they can see we have a supply chain to support that particular industry and what they want to do. So there's, as Jerry said, it's very important to have the breadth of the company capabilities that we have within our region because we do lead the nation in manufacturing.
Yeah, if I'm in southeastern Wisconsin, can I create a profile on the website?
Yes, you can. Any other questions? Again, please stop by and see us at the booth to demonstrate some additional. I'd also like to thank the panel members because, really hearing from the industry on how they would use that, how it connects into what they're looking for is really important in regards to making that connection to the marketplace. So thank you very much.